What's up guys, and welcome back with some more Genshin Impact, and today we are checking out a video that I'm actually really excited to watch. It is All Gnosis and 8th Element Uncovered Genshin Impact Theory. And the reason we're watching another theory video is because I just enjoy watching these now, and the fact that I did a poll on the YouTube channel and the community tab for what type of Genshin videos you guys wanted to see next, and you guys voted for theories, so here we are once again. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's always greatly appreciated as we're trying to hit that 4,000 subscriber mark this month. And also, the original video will be in the description box below as always. So let's get into this video.
This theory video will explain who exactly holds the King Gnosis in the game of Genshin Impact. I will also connect the numerous breadcrumbs left by Mihoyo to explain the identities of the pawn, rooks, bishops, knights, and even the colors of chess. I covered the chess theory before, way back in February. Fast forward 8 months, I realized that video is vastly outdated. So I decided
it's a good thing I'm watching this first time
with new perception and information. You've probably seen or heard about the Raiden Shogun is the king theory. Although this speculation is very interesting, there are many issues with this concept. The basic idea is that if you read the elements on the loading screen from right to left, the Electro Archon should be represented by the king, with the final rook being the 8th element, which is currently undisclosed. Amazing concept, but again, we know things are never so simple in Mihoyo games. Let's pinpoint the problems with this theory so that I can provide an alternative possibility that explains the identity of all the pieces in chess. It is speculated that the 8th element is the unknown power that is associated with
Dainsleif. I've never heard.
Problem arises
White screen of death. Give me a
back
sec.
to Dainsleif's dialogue from the Travail trailer. This unknown power from beyond is...
Okay, like in the comment section below before we continue, can somebody let me know if they've ever heard of this theory? Because it's the first time I'm ever even hearing of this. But at the same time, I never looked into theory videos, but please do let me know.
Not associated with the gods of Tevat. Since
so completely
power
different powers, what they're saying.
World, the representation of this unknown element being the second rook doesn't make sense. If it does exist on the chessboard, it should be on the opposing side. But for a moment, let's pretend that the 8th element does exist as the second rook. This effectively makes the Gnosis the king, which creates another problem within the fundamental rules of chess. The pawn cannot promote into the king, which means besides Raiden Shogun herself, no one can utilize the electro element. We already know this is not the case since many characters
since we obviously have multiple electro characters
utilize the power of electro. And when we consider the rules of chess, when the king falls, the game ends. So who represents the individual pieces? What is the 8th element? And is there a hidden meaning behind the loading screen? Let's begin.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
The identity of the pawn. Many people believe that the pawn are the vision holders, also known as the allogenes, individuals who are gifted with the possibility of ascension into godhood. But even this has problems when put up against the context of the pawn within chess. The fact of the matter is that vision holders don't have a choice of selection, unlike the pawn, which can promote into any piece it desires.
Yeah, they're just given the vision and that's pretty much it.
Regardless of their preference, and they seem to activate at random. Upon receiving her vision, Noelle claims that she feels dejected because she obtained the Geo vision rather than the Anima vision. Kaching's vision was practically forced upon her against her will. She even tries to destroy the damn thing several times. Even Kazuha, who was in possession of his friend's electrovision, could not activate it at will. It only activates temporarily, only to revert back to an empty shell. Now, aside from this problem, even the ascension to godhood is highly suspicious. As I previously mentioned in this video, it is my belief that the idea of ascension to godhood has some concerns. I believe that everything is a lie created by Celestia to monitor the allogenes and hinder them from understanding the true nature of this world. With these points, the most viable choice for the pawn should be the Traveler. Unlike the allogenes, the Traveler is given a choice. By
and he's able to get the multiple elements.
Mimic the skill sets and even the playstyle of its respective Archon. They essentially become a mini Archon themselves. The game further hints why the pawn is the Traveler. When the current Raiden Shogun initially gave up her Gnosis to Yae, she mentions, "You understand the value of Gnosis. Even if you sold it, I trust that you would have exchanged it for something of equal value." We know that at the end of Inazuma Archon Quest, Yae does in fact exchange the Electro Gnosis for the life of the Traveler.
Yeah,
The
it was
value
something
of the
important.
Traveler is equal to a Gnosis, reflecting the true worth of the pawn. The name cards from the Theater Mechanicus also add to this theory. You
Really?
claim to have seen all the mechanisms, but have you ever considered playing yourself as the pawn? Questioning the Traveler if they ever considered the true meaning of their identity within the game. If all this wasn't already enough, Ether and Lumine are both wearing the colors black and white, an obvious representation of the two colors in chess, being positioned on the opposing side of the game.
All this
Now, before I
information, I'm
start
just like,
explaining
huh?
The identity of the king.
What?
Let's talk about the existence of the eighth element.
Okay, yeah,
To
let's
help
talk
us
about the
pinpoint
eighth element.
We need to
Let's
talk
talk about it.
syzygy. The idea
Yeah, I want to know about
syzygy
this
comes
eighth
from
element.
Gnosticism, which Genshin Impact takes heavy inspiration from. It
Gnosticism?
revolves around the idea of unification, basically two things being paired for the overall picture. This is represented many times in the game, the union of the two travelers, Tavat's internal struggle stemming from the Abyss Order and the gods, the cataclysm caused by the cyclical nature of life and death, even the existence of visions and delusions, the list goes on. With this concept, instead of simply reading the loading screen from right to left, let's see what happens if we pair these elements using the concept of syzygy. Once we pair these elements, we are left with Anemo, the queen. Now, is there an element that could pair with Anemo to represent the king in Genshin Impact? The god of time. In the world of Tavat, the god of time was often worshipped together with the god of wind. However, the identity of god of time faded from existence many years ago. Ironically, just like how identity of time is forgotten and super cryptic, the element of time also goes unnoticed inside the loading screen, represented by the loading bar and the background depicting the colors black and white to represent the flow of time. So who symbolizes the god of time, the king that everyone's forgotten for thousands of years? You may think this is Paimon, but it wouldn't be a theory without some evidence. Let's begin with Paimon's name. We can learn that the name Paimon comes from the demonology of Lesser Key of Solomon, known as Ars Goetia. The term Ars Goetia refers to
I will say this, like before we continue, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if Paimon ends up being some type of crazy god or something. Give it like 2 more years into the game or even further, and Paimon's just gonna like transform into like this crazy celestial being or something. We're just gonna be like, huh? What the hell happened? Like, part of me would not be shocked whatsoever, because I feel like we know so little about Paimon. Like, I don't know. Anything could be possible at this point.
Invocation or summoning of demons. It is my speculation that the entities with these demon names are the gods that were victorious after the Archon War. Basically, the end of the Archon War signaling the beginning of their Archonship. Barbados, Morox, Baal, and Paimon, all coming from Ars Goetia, signifies that there's an obvious connection between Venti, Zhongli, Paimon, and Makoto, the original Electro Archon. Just like the example of demon names, the statue of the Seven also reflect the original Archons from the Archon War. We can see this in Raiden Shogun's promotional trailer.
Yeah, I remember that.
Had shorter braids than A, the current Electro Archon. These shorter braids can be seen on the Electro statue of the Seven, clearly indicating that these statues are depictions of the original Seven Archons.
Yeah.
Interestingly, we can see many aesthetic references of Paimon on these statues as well, from the crown to even their clothes. With the name and appearance
never noticed that.
The existence of Paimon should be on equal terms with that of the original Seven. Paimon, who can control the flow of time inside the game, as the king who was worshipped alongside the god of wind. Not to mention,
I never processed that Paimon's the one that changes the time.
Direct identifier of the king piece in chess. The connection of the Statue of the Seven goes even further. Have you ever wondered what implications these statues have? I believe that the Statue of the Seven is a larger, conceptualized version of a Gnosis. We know 2 facts about the Statue of the Seven. First, the
Okay.
traveler can resonate with the statue, and second, we can worship the statue.
True,
Recently, we
true.
learned from Raiden Shogun that visions or elemental powers are not given out by the archons. That means the element of the traveler is not from the archons but obtained directly from Celestia. If this is the case, everything starts to make sense. Just like how archons use their Gnosis as a catalyst to gain power from Celestia, the traveler uses the statue
Yeah, we use
as
the statues.
catalyst to obtain their elemental powers. This means that the archons and the traveler both resonate with Celestia directly.
Yeah,
even
you know,
that
they have
after
things in
Traveler
common. It
apologized to Venti
it may not be like the exact way, you know, that they do it, but it is pretty similar in the fashion that they do it. It's just the Gnosis is way more rare, you know, it's not like all over the map like the statues are.
using the power of the statue, Venti basically laughs it off and changes the subject. Also, if the Gnosis and the Statue of the Seven are directly connected to Celestia, that may explain why Archon's powers are directly related to the level of rule in their regions. As people worship the statue, the power is transferred to the Gnosis, with Celestia being the main hub.
I just had like a
Because
brain
Gnosis
blast
and
for a
the Statue of
second.
the
Jimmy
Seven
Neutron
serves
over here.
the same purpose, I believe that they will look similar, if not identical. All the statues basically look like chess pieces with the identifier expressed at the top. If
That's
this is
true.
which Gnosis belongs to which Archons? If the Statue of the Seven is the direct representation of a Gnosis, we can come to simple conclusions. The animal statue symbolizing the queen, the Geo statue indicating a rook, and the Electro statue depicting a bishop. But what about the others? While I was staring at a wall for hours trying to answer this question, I came across an interesting idea from a user named Cole Loves You on Twitter. They speculated that the slimes are connected to each respective elemental archons. Out of curiosity, I decided to read each slime's backstory to see if there were any direct connections to the archons. What I found was shocking. Animal Slime's story describes the ability to float becoming special vehicle used as a method of transportation. Floating obviously relating to Venti's ability, while the special vehicle of transportation being literally the Devolin Express. The Geoslime's description talks about the story of a golden Geoslime king and his relationship to gemstones and ores. Gold representing Mora, gemstones referring to Zhongli's knowledge in precious rocks, and the story of Ashtaha connecting to ores. Core Lapis is presented in two different variants, each speculated to be the two opposite polarities, screaming the connection of the story of Raiden Shogun expressed within Makoto and A. So it all connects together. We can even hypothesize on other Archon stories in the future. The Pyro Slime covers the idea of anger and depression. The Archon that we haven't seen yet, right? Hinting at potential personality fluctuation of the Pyro Archon in the story of Natlin. Hydro Slime's external stature is
that Archon is dead, isn't it?
to its environment.
The fire
one. It attempts to entrap its enemies, foreshadowing the authority and the power of the god of justice in Fontaine through the means of trial and tribulations. We are not going to see Fontaine for so damn long. Surrounding atmosphere to form a protective shell, also being considered as the freest species of all slimes that can cross oceans and seas, explaining the Saritha's change of demeanor to protect herself after the cataclysm and her diplomatic ties around the entire world of Tavant. And finally, the Dendro slime hides its true form to trick and hunt its prey, some regarding it as a slime that has been parasitized by some special plant. As we saw in the last theory video. Wisdom, hiding their true appearance due to some force outside of their control. Judging by these speculations, I feel that these slimes are expressed as a direct link to the Archons. So, if these slimes are related to the Archons, how can this help us figure out the identity of their Gnosis? During my research, I've come to another realization
Must find hints.
Very purposeful by Mihoyo. The appearance of the slimes are presented to us in pairs, which was obviously a premeditated decision. And when we order these
Oh,
pairs, it mimics the same
yeah, I was about to
order
say, it's
and the
like
coupling
how
we
you were pairing
created
there
on the
before.
loading screen from earlier. Pyro and Hydro slimes having the same horns. Dendro and Electro slimes showing similar obtrusions. Cryo and Geo slimes harnessing the same protective layer, with Animal slime having wings, perhaps mirroring Paimon, the king. If all these connections were truly intended, means that the Gnosis do in fact repeat just like the pieces of chess. King is the representation of Paimon and is paired with the queen.
Just I
the
keep hearing
animal
that, and I'm just like,
archon.
what the hell,
The
man?
two rocks
Paimon ends up being
belonging
the
to the
king.
Geo and Cryo archons, two bishops for Dendro and Electro archons, and the two knights for Pyro and Hydro archons. Now I'm sure you're asking the questions, why was Raiden Shogun's Gnosis never shown? Why are there
That's a good question. Was it never shown? That would have been interesting to see it, but there was a reason why they didn't want to show us that. I'm sure there's a valid reason.
pawns? Is there a pawn Gnosis? I personally believe that on a development perspective, it's crucial to withhold information about the repeating Gnosis as long as possible. If it does happen, I feel like it's years later once we reach the Pyro region to show the second
Really?
Gnosis.
You think it's gonna be
Also, in
that
my theory,
long?
the Traveler is simply a representation of the pawn without an actual Gnosis. After all, Aether and Lumine did not participate in the Archon War. But if I were to match things directly, the 7 pawns could be for each element and the final pawn being the original power of the Traveler. But since Mihoyo has officially confirmed that Aether and Lumine...
Well, give me a moment, let me see this. Both Lumine and Aether can be the Traveler. The choice is ultimately up to the player. We may use one or the other in the position of the Traveler for promotional content, but but there is no one canon Traveler. We hope this clears things up for you. Okay. So it could be either one of them is what they're saying.
are both canon. I feel like they are just simple conceptualized versions of the pawn. And no matter who you picked, one belongs to white and the other belongs to black. Now, speaking of sides, let's talk about who the black and white pieces are. Okay, before I share my thoughts on the black and white pieces,
this is such a clean
I want to
scene.
emphasize that there's not a lot of information to go off of. These claims are highly speculative and consider them as food for thought. Now, with that said, to find the identities of the opposing side of the chessboard, I used 3 reference points. First, the story of each region and the quest item we received at the end.
Oh yeah, the items that we just keep.
Second, the concept of syzygy that I mentioned earlier in this video. And lastly, the idea that each piece from both sides should reflect similar level of strength. For simplicity, let's assign the white pieces to the gods that are associated with Celestia. This will effectively make the black pieces entities that do not belong in the world of Teyvat. For the pawns, 2 travelers, one traveling through the world of Teyvat and the other siding with the Abyss Order. Now, I speculate that the Black Queen is gold. With the idea of syzygy, Dvalin and Venti directly mirrors the pairing of Durin and Gold, both of their stories revolving around Dragonspine in the region of Mondstadt. And receiving the item Tainted Blood from Dvalin, which is connected to Durin, makes it highly suspicious. For the Black Rook, I theorize that it belongs to Ozio, the overlord of the Vortex, which shares the deep history with Zhongli. Ozio was summoned by recreated sigils of permissions, which I speculate to be from the same source as the corrupted karma that is used to create delusions.
Well, what I find interesting, didn't we just, like, in the Shenhu, well, the Shenhu quest, right? Didn't we just fight that boss? What was his name? What was their name? Like Baish? Like, I forget how they actually say their name, but it was the other water dragon, right? Wasn't that water dragon related to the one that they just showed right on screen? Because this video came out before that quest did, but don't they link together?
Quest also rewarding us with the monolith fragment from Ozio. In terms of the Black Bishop, I believe Urabashi fits the bill. The serpent god from the Dark Sea, which was defeated by Raiden Shogun. But we never receive a quest item connected to Urabashi. So what's the deal? Considering that the
We didn't see the Gnosis, we
never
didn't get an
shown
item.
to us, could possibly hint that Urabashi, or the Black Bishop, was already off the chessboard since it was defeated in the past. But we do receive an item called Funerary Mask belonging to Senora.
Yeah, from Senora.
Personally, I believe that this item is connected to the Fatui in the future and not Celestia. But again, all this is highly speculative, and you are welcome to disagree. For the other black pieces, I strongly suspect that they are beings that oppose the individual archons in the future. As for the Black King, I would have to say Daneslave. Daneslave's past with the Abyss sibling reflects Paimon to the Traveler, both having weird-ass capes and other similarities that are very thought-provoking. Paimon being
look like an adult version of
and
freaking
Daneslave
Ether.
having the unknown power from beyond. But hold on a minute, what's the deal with Saritsa? If this is in fact all a game of chess,
what is the deal with her?
how can she be taking out the chess pieces that are on the same side? The explanation is simple. The less pieces that exist on the board, the more vulnerable the player becomes. But because she can't physically take out the pieces from the same side, this act of sabotaging and sandbagging is done through the Harbingers, the ones who are empowered by delusions. Delusions which are created from the same corrupted karma that is associated with the other side. In a sense, maybe Senora is the Black Bishop instead of Urabashi. We did get the Funerary Mask at the end of it.
Okay, so that would make sense of why we got an item for her instead.
She's not connected to Celestia. Her power of flames coming from when she was the Crimson Witch, and her cryo powers coming from her delusion.
I could see that,
Now we are left with the two players of chess. The white player could simply be the sustainer of heavenly principles, or Celestia.
I forgot about that lady.
Connection between Paimon and the sustainer,
I haven't seen her in so long. Holy crap.
But I do feel that they are not the same, but related in some weird way within the Mihoyo.
Herrscher of the Void.
With that said, who is the opposing player? I have no idea. Maybe it's just the Abyss Order. But since this is all for entertainment anyway, let me know your wildest thoughts on who you think the two players are in the comments below. After all, this is just
the theory.
If you enjoyed this video, smash like and consider subscribing for more theories.
This one opened up my
Also,
brain a
if you
lot
have
on
any
what the hell is actually going on in this
stream here
game.
on YouTube Monday, Wednesdays,
Brings
and
up a lot of
Fridays.
questions.
So make sure to drop by if you just want to hang out and talk about Genshin Impact lore and theories. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Well, there you have it. You already know, be sure to show them some love, you know? Island XD. Subscribe to them. They put out this very good theory once again. Yeah, that opened up a lot of questions about who's the pawn, who's the king, thinking that Paimon's the king, thinking Paimon has some higher up power, who's really the one in, like, who's really in charge in the situation here. So my brain is just like, huh. Like, I'm gonna have to go back and, like, probably look through some parts of the skin so I could really process it. But it was a great video, I must say, once again. So, I mean, you guys let me know your theory in the, you know, I was gonna say description box, in the comment section below on what you guys think is going on. Because, man, I would love to have a discussion about this. Like, that's the coolest thing, watching a video like this and then just discussing and, like, brainstorming your thoughts with other people. So please do. Also, I wanted to take a look at some comments to see what people are saying, just out of curiosity. So I see here that somebody said, also here's a small detail on why Paimon could really be the god of time. It says when you open the player menu, everything stops, so only Paimon moves. I mean, that is true. Like, there's a lot of things like that I think most people don't even think about. They're just like, okay, I just pause the game, let me do what I gotta do. Like, even me, I don't think about, like, huh, I wonder why that's happening, you know what I mean? It's very interesting. And then what else do we have here? We see, said I've always thought that Paimon was the god of time, and the reason is because when we fished her from the beach that was near Nameless Island, which revealed stuff about the god of time. And this video showed me even more, and I'm even more hyped for the future. Yeah, a lot of people are really thinking that Paimon, I mean, obviously Paimon has to have, like, some crazy lore behind her and some higher power that maybe she even knows about, but she plays dumb, or maybe she doesn't even know about and isn't really just conscious of it at all, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, it's very interesting. And then it says, also no one's gonna talk about how Paimon says, let's start with the animal, statue of the seven, and there's a reason why. I believe Paimon knew we could resonate with statues, even though literally no one else can. Also, Paimon literally tells us where to go 90% of the game, just like how a king commands its pawns. That's true. Paimon does guide us like through everything in the game virtually, right? I mean, whether it's in like a professional way or it's not, even if Paimon's acting like stupid at the moment or something, they are always guiding us. And then it says, Traveler being a lost Archon is pretty heavily hinted at when you consider they are the only character in the game to have the exact constellation style as Archons, that is their face and profile holding their signature weapon. Little details like that people be noticing, like what the hell? And it says in the Archon quest, Yai mentioned that the Traveler is yet to be given a vision or something. A wild idea came to me. This unknown element will be the Traveler's vision. Maybe. Okay. Who the hell knows? Maybe. Then somebody said, I think it's canon that Lumine is the Abyss sibling, the one that made the journey first. In chess, White moves first. Also, I think she does have a princess-like vibe, but Ether doesn't have a prince-like vibe. Also, there's Dainsleif's monologue that mentions save her. Huh. I mean, like, with the whole thing of either of them being canon that could go first, at the same time, somebody just answered, like, it was somebody that works at Mihoyo, right? That just answered it under, like a Mihoyo page or something. So I don't know, maybe it's not 100% valid and just one of them decided to answer. I don't know. Who even knows? And yeah, once again, somebody says another thing I find cool is how in chess, White starts first, just like Lumine starting her journey 500 years before Ether. So maybe in reality, that is canon. I don't know. Y'all have to let me know what you think, but I just wanted to check a few comments to see what people were saying. So I think this is a thing that we'll probably do after these videos, is we'll look at a few comments and just, like, you know, get a little dive into people's thoughts, you know. So anyways, back to the end of the video. And yeah, be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, hit that notification bell so you know when I'm uploading. Discord server in the description box below also. But yeah, other than that, appreciate y'all, love y'all, thank you guys for the support, stay safe, and as I always say, don't do crack.
Be sure to subscribe to the Special K Experience if you enjoyed this video. If not, you're going to Femboy IHOP.